An inside look at high school sports in Branch County. This is the Coach's Corner on AM 1590 and FM 95.5 WTVB.
This is Coach's Corner on a Thursday, brought to you by Matthew C. Christopher, DDS-PC. And you probably noticed we flip-flop things a little bit this week. Union City Coach's Corner will be tomorrow, and then coming up next week, we'll be back to our normal schedule. But the reason for the flip, Coldwater Cardinals open their football season tonight when they make that short trip over to Sturgis to take on the Trojans. And we're joined by Jeff Schorfhaar, the head coach of the Coldwater Cardinals. And Coach, it seems like you start that countdown clock as soon as the season is over last year, and it seems like it's never going to come. But here we are. It starts tonight.
Yeah, when we first finish the season, it's like, all right, we got some time. But then all of a sudden, when August rolls around, it's like, okay, where'd all that time go? Now it's kind of like, oh wow, that went kind of fast.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And you guys, what was your off season like? Obviously, a lot of 7-on-7 over the summer, probably some weights and things like that. But how'd the summer go?
It went really well. We had a lot of 7-on-7 work and a lot of in the weight room. That's our biggest push is to get stronger and faster. And the kids did a nice job of showing up for the weight room and putting in the time that they need to put in. And, now hopefully it's going to pay off.
And for a team like you that likes to throw the ball in with a quarterback like Drayson, the 7-on-7 has to be huge. But, we were talking before we started recording. You go back to the old days, you would, the season was over, you hang your stuff up, and you didn't see your teammates or your coach really again until August. This makes the game so much different these days. Yes,
it does. And not only do you get a chance to, practice offense in the 7-on-7, but you also get a chance to practice defense. And back in the old days before, we were throwing the ball so much, that's one of the main reasons we went to 7-on-7s was, to practice our defense, and how to defend the pass and stuff like that, because we ran the ball so much. We were always working on the run in practice, and so that gave us a chance to work on our pass defense. Now, we're working on both our pass defense and our offense quite a bit.
And then I guess when you start talking about your team this year, it starts with the quarterback, Drayson Foster. Had another great year last year. Missed a game or two because of injury, but he still managed to throw for over 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns, which were school records. And I would imagine keeping him healthy, or if he stays healthy, another big year for Drayson.
Yes, that's the big thing, is keeping people healthy. And he's definitely one that we need to keep healthy. Like last year when he went down, that kind of changed the whole complexion of our offense. He's one of those kids you get every once in a while. And so, we have to keep him healthy, but we also have some other pieces of the puzzle. Some of our receivers that are pretty talented, and those are the other kids that, we have to keep healthy too, because, he's got some really good receivers that he can throw to. And, that makes a huge difference.
And some of those kids you're talking about, Dayton Ennis and Evan Lewis, they both had big years last year. And then you throw in Royal Fleming, who, he primarily plays running back, but you can also throw him the ball.
Yes, and that's one of the things. He's a very versatile player. We can put him almost anywhere on the field, and he's a threat.
And then protection for your quarterback or to set up any kind of offense starts with that offensive front. And two of the most important linemen are the tackles, and you're lucky enough you've got both of yours back this year.
Yes, that's a big thing. Having both of our senior tackles back in Fad and in Fletcher Barr. So that's our anchors, and we're young in the middle there. But those guys are coming around pretty good so far. They had a pretty good scrimmage, and we've had a good week of practice here. So it'll be interesting to see their improvement in game one.
So that means you had to add some new kids in the middle of that offensive line, center, and the guards. How much do your two returners influence how they play, and what kind of leaders are they with those kids?
Oh, that's huge. The communication on the line, especially when you're pass blocking, is huge. And, those two tackles are, always communicating with the young kids and making sure everybody in the front five are on the same page. They've done a great job so far. And, and they will the whole season.
Well, we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about the other side of the ball on defense, and we'll talk about your trip over to Sturgis to take on the Trojans. When we return, more Coach's Corner after this, brought to you by Matthew C. Christopher, DDSPC, on AM 1590 and FM 95.5 WTVB.
Want to keep your smile bright and healthy? The family dental offices of Matthew C. Christopher, DDSPC, have some simple tips for maintaining excellent dental health.
Taking care of your teeth doesn't have to be difficult. Start with brushing twice a day for 2 minutes and don't forget to floss. It helps remove plaque from those hard-to-reach places. Regular checkups are key to catching any potential issues early. Matthew C. Christopher, DDSPC, reminds you that preventative care is the best way to avoid bigger dental problems down the road. Also, make sure to watch your diet. Limiting sugary snacks and drinks helps protect your teeth from cavities and decay. And always drink plenty of water to keep your mouth hydrated. It's that easy. Keeping your teeth healthy is all about daily habits and regular care.
Matthew C. Christopher, DDSPC, and his team in Coldwater and Union City are here to help you every step of the way. For more tips on keeping your smile its best, visit ucsmiles.com. That's ucsmiles.com.
And we are back with more Coach's Corner here on a Thursday, catching up with Coldwater coach Jeff Schorfhaar as his Cardinals get set to travel over to Sturgis to play the Trojans tonight. And, Coach, you talked about your quarterback and all the toys that he has on offense to play with this year. But defense was one of the things you guys really worked hard on a year ago. And even though you show improvement, you guys go up against some pretty talented offenses in the I-8.
Yes, and that's our big challenge this year is whether or not we can stop people. We're coming in with some, young kids on up front, and our two linebackers have experience now, so we're hoping to have that they're improved from a year ago. They got a lot of playing time last year, and our secondary is returning almost everybody. And so we've got one new corner. But our two safeties are back, and Roy's back at corner. So hopefully our secondary is solid. And, it's one of those where, if we can stop some people, we could be dangerous.
Is there times when you watch that defense play live there on the sideline and you think, oh, man, we got some work to do, but then you go watch it on film and thought, maybe they played a little better than you thought they did? Yes.
There's some of that. We went to the scrimmage, and in our scrimmage, our defense played better than what I anticipated, honestly. They actually played extremely well, and so that was a bright spot. Now we just gotta, we gotta continue that momentum, and we have to just get better.
And that's big, building week to week, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And that's one of the things that we've always, we tell the kids, and in all my years of coaching, usually after the scrimmage, you make pretty good strides into game one because you finally got to hit some different people. And you can see what you need to work on, and then, we spend all week working on those things, and, hopefully it pays off in your first game.
Well, it all starts for real tonight. You make that short trip over to Sturgis to take on the Trojans, a team you handled fairly easily last year, but, in high school football, a lot of times you just can't compare year to year. So what do you expect out of Sturgis this year?
Oh, they're much improved. We watched their scrimmage, and he's running the veer. They've got a dangerous quarterback, and their veer back is, big, strong kids that run hard. And they've got a couple, their tight end is probably one of the better tight ends in Southern Michigan, and one of the Lamb triplets, I believe it is. And I think the quarterback is a Lamb, too. And he's dangerous. I mean, he's a 6'5" kid and just can go up and get the ball, and he blocks extremely well. And they got a speedy receiver, too. So they are a much improved team. And if we don't come focused with our heads on straight, they'll beat us. So every game is extremely important.
Well, Coach, best of luck tonight against Sturgis, and looking for a fun season out of your kids like we normally do. And it's going to be fun to follow them and check in with you throughout the year.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Jeff Schorfhaar, he is the head coach of the Coldwater Cardinals. Of course, they open up their season tonight on the road at Sturgis, and the action starts right here on WTVB at 6:30. Coach's Corner on a Thursday has been brought to you by Matthew C. Christopher, DDSPC, on AM 1590 and FM 95.5 WTVB.